So here's a topic that I most definitely have an opinion on, but I really need your help. So my daughter was going through a rough phase one time where she was scratching and hitting and screaming all the time. So one time I said something to her and she slapped me in the face. So I raised my hand to hit her. I was going to give her a fine slap and she did this. And in that moment, let me tell you, it broke my heart to see my daughter look at me with such fear in her eyes. And that feeling I vowed never to happen again. But I also can't allow this behavior to go unpunished or not addressed. But, what is punishment, right? So, punishment is a response to undesirable behavior. It's often aimed at discouraging the recurrence. But it can be physical, it can be verbal, it can be emotional, it can be taken away rewards. But, punishment must be distinguished from discipline. Because while punishment seeks to address the behavior in that moment, discipline wants to teach long-term self-regulation, accountability, and I really think we really need to have both. So let's get into it. Alright, so many people argue that punishment is necessary for maintaining order, setting boundaries, ensuring that children understand the consequences of their actions. Because without it, children might grow up without a sense of responsibility and potentially disregarding the impact of their actions on others. But in a society today where punishment doesn't seem to be a sufficient deterrent for crimes, where anansi behavior seems to be the norm, and one can ask, is our society really disintegrating to a place where good, well-thinking individuals are always living in fear, while social media is bombarding us with the constant evils, not just in the world, but it feels like it's right in our homes? The schools, in my opinion, have been stripped significantly of the ability to punish students. We no longer have this village concept of growing our children where everybody's participating in the positive development. But of course, physical abuse wasn't acceptable. But have we gone way too far? But let me make it clear that the stance I have from my daughter, not seeing me as some sort of abuser, whether physical or verbal or emotional. But whatever it takes for me to instill some discipline, I'm gonna do my very best. But what I want to ensure is that, am I doing the same thing if I had a son? I'm not too sure. Right now I can say anything I want, because what I'm very sure of is that every child is different. So when I see other parents disciplining their child or punishing their children, I mind my business, because I think, honestly, good parents are just simply trying to do their best, right? For what is right for the child, because there's no one cap fits all. But with the availability of a lot of information now, I think, we have to arm ourselves with as much of it as possible. We have to be mindful, though, of what are the risks of, punishment. And though our intentions are pure, there's a point where it really can become excessive or inappropriate, because it really can lead to a lot of self-esteem damage, resentment, long-term behavioral problems. Physical punishment in particular have been shown to have very adverse effects. The studies that said, children subjected to harsh physical abuse develop aggression, anxiety, depression as they grow older. However, punitive measures that focus solely on compliance often fail to address the root cause of the behavior. And a child who acts out may be struggling with their underlying emotions as frustration, fear, or confusion. Addressing these emotions constructively is more effective than punishment alone. Alright, but there's a balance that we need between intentions of our punishment and to make it proportional or constructive, while teaching why are they being punished. Why is there a need for discipline? So regarding punishment now, we need to find a balance between the punishment and making it proportional, but while at the same time making it constructive. Because we don't want to just punish without there actually be any learning or using it as a teaching moment. But there are other forms of punishment versus the physical one that we all talk about. Some things are like natural consequences. All right, so if I said don't go and put on something because it's cold and you refuse to, then guess what? Then let them get cold. Or have we gone too far by saying, listen, don't touch a pot because it's hot, and we allow them to touch it, but then they get burned? No, have we gone too far? Then, sometimes it's just removing them away from a situation, timeouts, go and sit in a corner. But, as the evidence shows that we should not allow our children to go and calm down by themselves and reflect, because the message that we're sending them is that when they're in their worst emotional state, that is when we abandon them probably as parents. So instead of sending them away to have a timeout to calm themselves, is we be there with them and help them to self-regulate. That shows them that no matter what the situation is, mom or dad is still gonna be here with you. But one of the things that I think work even greater today is their addiction towards these instruments. Their social media, their tablets. And if you ever turn off the Wi-Fi, they go into some conniption. They will lose their damn minds if they're not able to go online or use WhatsApp or use their phones. But guess what? Take it away. But while we're talking about punishment so significantly, I think we spend a lot of time focusing on the negatives that our kids are doing, but really need to find a way how to constantly give them praise and positive reinforcement, and not just see it as normal behavior. Because we expect them to do good, but we reward them for doing good, and constantly reward them for doing this good. Then will that now motivate them to do even more good? So I don't know. Again, guys, it's just we trying to make sure that there's a balance between punishment, rewards, and making sure that they really learn what our intentions are. We need to be careful of how punishment affects our kids as adults, because children really learn from their environment, and the way that they're disciplined shapes their future relationships, their work ethic, the emotional resilience. When punishment is fair and consistent and paired with love, children grow into adults who respect boundaries and understand accountability. But conversely, harsh or inconsistent punishment can have the opposite effect. Adults who are frequently shamed or punished harshly as children may struggle with self-worth or authority figures. So rather than focusing solely on punishment, we really need to prioritize teaching the children the skills they need to regulate their behavior. We need communication, empathy, conflict resolution. So instead of yelling at the child for hitting their sibling, guide them in towards expressing their feelings with words. Use your words. It's just something that we have to constantly be saying to them. We need to foster these skills to prepare our children not just to avoid bad behavior, but to make good decisions independently. So, should we punish our children for bad behavior? The answer, of course, is yes. Children need boundaries, and there must be consequences for harmful actions. However, punishment must be measured, it must be constructive, and it must be part of a broader effort to teach and nurture. Parenting is not about exerting control. It's about guiding our children to become the best versions of themselves. When we approach the discipline with some empathy and fairness and consistency, really create a good foundation for our children to thrive, not just as children, but as future adults. I have a strong suggestion. So I believe that a part of our punishment should include physical activity. And this is how we should equip maybe our schools. You know what? If you do something wrong in school, you do 100 squats. We used to do where you would hold up the bag for extended time until your arms shake. This is not going to kill them, but it's going to make them stronger. And the fact that they have to do it. Now, is this a good form of punishment? I think so, because one is also developing them physically and mentally, but while also participating in their emotional control. Because the challenge right now, is that everything that is happening around us, people are so willing to do all these negative things, because the consequences are not matching these actions. And we can get into a whole debate around should there be corporal punishment? Should there be hanging? How far should we take punishment for actions? But it really needs to start from developing a good core of individuals, of children who grow into adults who will dominate what is the norms for our society. Because right now I am very fearful of the society that my daughter is going to grow up into. So one, I need to make her resilient. I need to make her emotionally stable, but most of all, be in control. So again, this is a few of my opinions, and I know I haven't answered the question because this one is so nuanced, but in the comments, help me, because this one is a topic that I'm sure every parent, every person struggles with.